France, Macron, whose wife treats him extremely badly. And he's still recovering from the right to the jaw.
Well, overnight, the French president says those comments by Trump are not elegant and they weren't up to par. He also says perhaps he shouldn't speak every day. So will Trump fire back?
And therefore our expectations of the Prime Minister of Britain is that he must take steps that will prevent further negative impact on international events such as World War III.
In a GB News exclusive, an Iranian dissident has risked his life to send a video message calling on Britain to join the fight.
It's just such a tremendous place to be. The views are extraordinary. It's really fun to be floating around, and it just makes me feel like a little kid.
Well, this morning, the 4 astronauts on board Artemis 2 have become the first human being since 1972 to leave Earth's orbit. Unfortunately, they've had some rather prosaic plumbing problems.
And today, Christians across Britain are marking Good Friday, which commemorates the crucifixion of Jesus, one of the most significant days in the Christian calendar. So Good Friday today, Angie, the day when Christians remember Jesus' death on the cross, called Good Friday because of the anticipation of what would happen on Easter Day. But I found out yesterday from somebody who goes to a Greek Orthodox church, they call it Big Friday.
Similar, isn't it?
Yeah, same idea.
I'm going to, after the service, I'm going to church at my service, the Good Friday service. It's a big day. It's quite a long service. And of course...
Somber as well.
Yes, it is. But what we saw those scenes from Trafalgar Square last year, that's become a bigger and bigger event every year. And of course, as you know, we have passion plays in the Christian church every 10 years. And that's a sort of a microcosm of it. I'm hoping to go to one of those next year.
Oh, wow, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because, of course, we celebrate Christmas. We have a much bigger deal of Christmas, don't we, in this country? But actually, in the Christian faith, Easter, Good Friday and Easter are much more important in some ways. They're more central to...
death, and then 3 days, and then he rose again, the resurrection, giving his life up for us. So it's a big, big day. So if you're celebrating it, whatever way you're marking it, we hope it goes well. And as ever, we'd like to know what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting gbnews.com/you'll say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks very much. 9:34 the time. Good morning to you. Our headlines. Marks and Spencer's called on the government to crack down on retail crime, warning that theft and attacks on staff are becoming more brazen and more aggressive. It comes after a string of incidents involving shoplifting and violence at its stores. President Trump's threatened to strike Iran's bridges and electric power plants, saying the US hasn't even started destroying what's left. It comes after a US airstrike on a bridge near Tehran reportedly killed at least 8 people and injured 100 more. Ed Miliband's expected to authorise the first major North Sea oil and gas field project in almost a decade. The Energy Secretary is to give the green light for the Jackdaw gas field off the coast of Aberdeen after concluding it's compatible with the UK's carbon reduction targets. The 4 astronauts on NASA's Artemis mission have now left the Earth's orbit as they make a final push towards the moon. In a live stream from Space Commander Reid Wiseman described a spectacular view of Earth from pole to pole. And millions of people are expected to still be on the roads this weekend for the Easter holidays. Despite the arrival of Storm Dave, travellers are being warned of disruption and cancellations across road, rail, air and ferries. There's your headlines. Full bulletin coming up for you at 10 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, they've spoken out after days of provocation. Marks and Spencer has criticised both the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, and the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, warning that rising crime is putting both staff and shoppers at risk on our high streets.
Well, Adam Hawksby from M&S spoke to our breakfast programme earlier. Here's what he had to say.
Our colleagues that work in store deserve to go into work each day without fear of intimidation or abuse or harassment. And at the moment, it feels like the levels of that harassment, as we said in our piece, are getting worse. We feel like we're doing our bit. We've invested tens of millions in guards, in body-worn cameras, in technology. But there's only so much you can do with security in store. And so what we're calling on is for ministers and mayors across the country responsible for police forces to give police backing in terms of resources and tools.
With fears of further disorder this bank holiday weekend, we're asking, is the UK losing control of shoplifting and retail crime? What do you think, Andrew?
Well, I think it is. And you go to the smallest shop now and there's a security guard there. You talk to the security guard and say, what's the advice from management? They say, we're not allowed to do anything. Even if we see somebody shoplifting, we can remonstrate with them. We can try and persuade them not to leave the shop. But if they've pushed past, we can't physically restrain them because we're to be told we'll be breaking the law.
Yeah.
How mad is that?
It is, and then the shop doesn't have insurance if that person gets injured. But there has been a remarkable rise since COVID. Before then, actually, these crimes were falling. I looked it up this morning. In 2022, there were around 300,000 shoplifting incidents. Last year, there were well over 500,000. And retailers are saying that's just the one that reported. They think there's probably 2 million a year altogether.
And it's because people are emboldened because they know they can get away with it. And the fact is it affects everybody because retailers don't run charities. They have to get that money back, which means prices go up. There was a report the other day saying food inflation could go up to 6, 7, 8%. And of course that's partly a lot to do with the Iran war. It's also to do with the daily impact of shoplifting.
That's right.
It just never used to happen before.
Well, apparently they lost £2.2 billion in shoplifting last year, and also the shops themselves, supermarkets, invested £1.8 billion on security. So that's £4 billion extra that they had to spend that they wouldn't otherwise have had to do.
And that's going on the price of your tins beans.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a student doing my A-levels in Swindon, I worked at Sainsbury's on a Friday night and a Saturday, and on the Saturday there was a female store detective, and she would alert the youngest, fittest staff to the shoplifter. We'd intercept them, and it was all done in a very civilised way. And they used women store detectives because there was never any prospect of any violence. But that's all stopped now.
And just the shame of being caught was enough to stop people. And one theory is that the last government implemented this rule where if you took less than £200 worth of goods, you basically knew you wouldn't be able to prosecute. I'm sure that has fed into it. If you know you can go in there and just take a few things.
Well, they probably go around with a calculator, get 190 quid, and they stop. It's a joke.
Yes, like a supermarket
I think it's
sweep.
The high street's struggling enough already with the threat from online. People can't afford to park anymore. We're doing everything we can to destroy our shopping centres, and crime is getting worse, and you never hear the mayor talking about it in London.
Some of the retailers are saying that, yes, there is a rise in ordinary people taking things from shelves, actually older people as well, big rise in 60-pluses taking items, but they suspect a lot of it is actually serious organised crimes. Gangs, stealing to order, being organised over social media, that kind of thing.
And there was a story again a few weeks ago where a retailer was told it could not put pictures in its windows of well-known tea leafers, as we used to call them, shoplifters, because of data protection issues.
GDPR.
Can you believe it?
Extraordinary.
So here we are. Don't let this you-know-who in your shop because he or she is going to nick from you. Had to take the photographs down. Whose side is the law on?
Absolutely. But in areas where police really have tried to crack down on this, it has made a huge difference. It's not rocket science what's going to sort this out, but they just need to make a decision.
There's that police force somewhere, is it North?
I think it's Lincolnshire.
Yeah, we interviewed him. We interviewed the Deputy Chief Constable. Zero tolerance. If there's a phone call about shoplifting, they'll get you. Yeah, absolutely. It's made a difference. Well, we can now speak to our GBNews national reporter who has been at the scene of some of that disorder in Clapham. Will, what's the latest on this? What are the retailers saying? Are they afraid that these kind of crimes are going to happen again?
Well, this is the kinds of crimes retailers experience every single day. In fact, ONS figures show that was a 13% rise in shoplifting in the year to June 2015. Trade bodies, though, fear that figure is much, much higher than the official figures. In fact, the BRC, the British Retail Consortium, estimate the number of shoplifting incidents every year as over 5 million, and that is more than 1,600 separate incidents every single day, many of them violent and abusive. And in fact, the M&S behind me has been dealing with 2 incidences this week, of course high-profile instances. The first on Saturday when a group of teenagers stormed into the shop behind me, and then on a Tuesday when hundreds of teenagers were gathering on the high street here. The M&S was forced to lock the doors and force customers to stay inside in order to keep them safe, while police worked to disperse the crowds of teenagers here engaging in antisocial behaviour. And the Met Police have said 6 teenagers were arrested in that, but the boss of the M&S calling for more to be done to protect their shops and shop workers from shoplifting incidences. The government say they've already made it easier for the police to crack down on shoplifting, and the Mayor of London, he says we need to continue being tough on crime.
Thanks, Will. That's Will Godley in South London. Well, joining us now to discuss this further is former Detective Inspector and Police Constable in Clapham, Mike Neville. Mike, they can make all these statements as much as they like. The Mayor, we're doing what we can. They've arrested 6 people, hundreds of young men and women, often teenagers, people who are on school holidays. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds have been stampeding, rampaging up and down those streets, going into people's shops, causing mayhem, and they've arrested 6 people. Doesn't sound like tough action to me.
It doesn't at all, does it? And because when I was young PC there in 1989, there would have been 60 or 70 arrests. It would have been a very much more robust approach. Of course, the Metropolitan Police, though, they've cut their dog section and the horses. That both of those tactics would have been ideal here. Where were the territorial support group to get a grip of this? And I think the elephant in the room is that all these kids are black. Nearly every single one of them. There's no Asian or white kids there. And what this sends a message to people, again, it's about this fear of 2-tier policing. Because if these were all lads in Millwall football shirts, I'm sure the approach would have been much more robust. But what people see every day is people stealing, and the Mayor can't. He goes on about, murders have fallen and there's not as many stabbings. Well, fortunately, not many people get murdered and not many people get stabbed. But what they do see is crime rife on the streets. When they go in a shop, they see people stealing, and it comes to the point where I think obeying the rules becomes the stupid option, because why am I paying for the goods when everybody else simply walks out?
Do we need to separate, though, here, Mike, 2 different phenomena? One is a general rise in shoplifting, which we are seeing across the country. It's well recorded. It's people from all different walks of life, including people who wouldn't normally in the past have been associated with that kind of crime. And this kind of mob behaviour, this aggressive, antisocial, organised link-ins, as they're supposedly called. These are 2 separate phenomena that need to be dealt with perhaps separately. And you've made an allegation there that they were not policed forcefully because they're black. I mean, what evidence do you have to back that up?
Well, we know that young police officers, and the Federation have said this, are frightened to deal with people because they get accused of racism. You stop and search too many people, you get accused of racism, you might lose your job. There are a lot of hard-working police officers out there who want to protect the public, but they're trying to do it with one hand tied behind their back. The police cannot help who commits crime. There's another report produced this week or last week, all the police stop and search too many black people and all this sort of thing. As I said, the police, they only have to deal with what's in front of them. And what's in front of them here is readily apparent. And what you have in all the media, it's simply not discussed. And we've got to discuss it, because what will happen here, if this isn't nipped in the bud, it will get bigger and bigger, and then in the summer there'll be almighty riots because the police crack down on it too late. It needs to be nipped in the bud right now for the sake of those kids involved, but more importantly, the general public who just want to go about their lives.
Yeah, Mike, I completely agree with you. That's Mike Neville, a former detective chief inspector. I think that's a very good point, actually. If this was to be allowed to go on, I mean, long, hot summers, it's sort of a feeding ground for riots.
Absolutely. Well, we've seen that before, haven't we?
We have. And I just think 6 arrests is pathetic.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, well, the police are going to have to send a signal, aren't they?
Yeah.
That they will be cracked down upon if it happens again.
I mean, we had a group called the Vigilantes on our tubes back in London 20 years ago, and that was around the time of the steaming gangs. I talked about those the other day, with these large groups of young men, they were black men largely, would steam into tube stations, train stations and shops and were breaking the law, and the police did their best, but the Vigilantes were set up. They didn't last long, but it spoke volumes.
But like you say, it needs nipping in the bud. Well, the Mayor of London, Sir Sadiq Khan, said the scenes we saw in Clapham earlier this week are utterly unacceptable. Not only did they spread fear in the local community, but assaulting and intimidating hard-working retail staff and police officers are serious offences. More arrests are likely to follow over the coming days.
Well, we'll keep you to that, Mr. Khan. 6 arrests so far. We'll check that in a week's time, see how many more have been arrested, because I'm doubtful whether there'll be many more.
Maybe they're examining CCTV, Andrew.
Maybe they are. Now, still ahead.
A screeching U-turn from Labour on North Sea drilling.
Not by the Prime Minister, of course, because he doesn't have the power to do that. He told us that in the Commons last week.
Miliband's choice. But up next, it's the world-famous boat race tomorrow, Oxford versus Cambridge. Oh dear, for those watching on TV, one of those rowers might be me from a long time ago.
Long time ago, clearly.
Thanks, Andrew.
Sorry about that. And now, first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of our top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
After a stormy few days, things are calming down in Italy with some sunny skies returning here for the Easter weekend. Meanwhile, the wet and windy weather continues to affect parts of Greece and Turkey. There's the sunnier skies in Italy, the winds easing slowly across the south. Also, generally fine conditions for the Balearics, most of Spain and Portugal also seeing some sunshine, sunny spells for the Canaries. We'll see things warming up a little bit in Rome with more sunshine to come through Sunday, Monday and into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Welcome back to Breakfast with a very special guest.
We have a special guest. It's not Paul Kite, sorry.
No,
Paul.
that's okay, fine.
Oh, it's Monty.
Oh, look.
Hello, Monties.
Hello,
How
darling.
are you? Welcome to GB News. He's going to be our GB News dog.
Is he?
He's part of the family.
Are you part of the family, darling?
Yeah, everybody's coming to see him.
Darling.
He's been such a good boy, hasn't he?
He really has. He's unbelievable. And also, I don't know what are you going to say, that he's been on your lap for like the last half an hour?
On my lap for the last half an hour.
And he's not...
That was going to be our little secret.
He's
But you
been
were very
so
good, weren't
quiet,
you?
and he's been as good as gold.
Yeah.
Look
Look
he's
at him.
such a gorgeous little boy.
Oh.
You've been so good, haven't you?
For those of you on the radio, he's a tiny, tiny, tiny miniature dasher.
Yeah.
Golden.
Yes,
He's
he is,
golden.
and he's very fluffy. And I gave him a good wash, so he's all clean for GB News.
He's just so good. Cute.
He's been a good boy, so he's going to sit with us as we do the sport. So if you spot his little head, that's who it is. This is Monty, our new member of the family.
Hello, darling.
There he is. We need to get him a nice little GB News collar.
We do.
I don't
know
like
if
to
we've
be
got those
funny,
on
but this is going to be really tricky for
I
me.
know.
Is it?
I know.
Go on, then.
Do you want to
Try.
hold him as you do the sport?
Oh, spot.
Look, Coytie's in love.
Come on then, I'll just take
There you
it.
go.
You know what's going
You
to
hold
happen. I'm
him.
going to end up dropping him. Oh, it's okay, sweetheart. Come on.
There we go.
You're okay.
He loves Uncle Paul.
Oh,
and he's a Spurs fan as well.
There.
He's watched lots of Spurs.
So Liverpool beat Galatasaray 4-0. Who would have thought? Honestly. They were 1-0 down after the first leg, and then 3 goals. Yes, I know. Isn't that crazy? Yes. So they play PSG. I don't mind. You know what? I don't care about dog licks.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exercises.
Yeah.
Good morning. It is 9 minutes to 10 even. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Now, it's an iconic boat race tomorrow. Oxford taking on Cambridge in that battle. Did you know Miriam, keen rower, demonstrating power, determination and flawless technique in the water? They still lost, apparently, but that's her.
That's not what I said.
Oh, didn't you? Sorry, I've got that bit wrong. She's not the one in the terrible green cap. She's the one next to the terrible green cap, aren't you?
It is an actual physical... These are the days before everybody had digital cameras, so it's an actual physical print that my dad has taken a photo of this morning. So I don't think the colours are true to true to what they were. But anyway,
to tell me what it's all about is Ella Stadler, who's a former Oxford University Boat Club Women's President. I'm in awe of both of you, actually, because I couldn't row a boat to save my life.
Tried.
Well, at Butlins. And it sank. And it sank. What's it like? How tough is it?
It's an amazing sport. It's all about the rhythm, everything being a sync, and it's an incredible day to be a part of. And just incredible to be able to pick up the sport early on. Quite a lot of people who do this race will only have picked up an oar 5 years before, and then go on to compete and be on cameras and have 2 million people watching them.
Yeah. Now, I only rowed for my college, so it's like, you know, which was great fun. But you rowed for your university. You did the big boat race, Oxford versus Cambridge, like you say, massive world event. Yeah. What was the pressure like on the Thames on that day? Or you've done it twice, haven't you?
Yeah. Immense, definitely a lot. I think the first year blocked it all out, ignored any of the pressure. Second year really felt the cameras, really felt the noise, really wanted to take it all in and just enjoy the day. I think now, only a few years on, realise how big the event is and how many people are watching.
How many people are watching worldwide? Millions?
Millions worldwide, yeah.
Incredible.
And you're rowing on the Thames, which is a big river. It's not flat like the local rivers in Oxford and Cambridge. What was it like training and then rowing on a tidal river?
Yeah, so you're right, we train in Oxford and Cambridge respectively, and we all get opportunities to come down to the tideway, that stretch of the Thames, and practice on the very different water. It's a lot bumpier, and the bends in the course means that there'll be patches of the river, if it's windy tomorrow, that seem perfect, that are lovely, no wind, and there'll be other patches that are bumpy and not so nice.
Yeah, and there have been some controversies over the years. I was looking some of them up this morning. 1912, both boats sank.
Yeah.
2012, a protester swam in front of the boats.
Yes, indeed.
So what were they protesting about?
Elite sports.
Oh, for heaven's sake. So no end to it.
So tell us a bit about how you got into rowing, because I think people who've not been in one of these sliding seat boats, they are tiny. They're only as wide as your hips. You are so close to the water, you can very easily capsize. What did you feel like when you first got in?
Yeah, I started rowing a few years before doing the boat race, just through my college, and that's how lots of people learn to row at Oxford and Cambridge. And yeah, it's a completely random sport. I don't think I understood for a long time that you had to do everything in sync with the person in front of you, which is a big learning curve. Yeah, and then you come to the tideway and it's this massive body of water, and on race day you are the only two rowing boats on that water, and you feel incredibly small. You see all these people looking at you, so it's very different.
And you say you have to be in sync in order to keep the boat, well, fast and balanced.
Exactly.
But once you've mastered that technique, actually so much of it is about fitness. Tell us about what your body is going through in that 4.2-mile race.
Yeah, so lots of our training in the lead up to the race is aerobic based. So we'll do long 90-minute ergs, a lot of strength.
That's the rowing machine.
Exactly, the rowing machine. A lot of strength training alongside that, as well as hard pieces on the water or 5K test, a 2K test. And then come race day, your heart rate will reach the highest it probably ever has. But you're so locked in and listening to what the cox has said. Obviously, you're feeling the burn in every single muscle that you've never felt before. You're just doing it all together.
And how important is that cox at the back belly, blowing those instructions on the megaphone? Really
Incredibly important. I think especially for the boat race. It's obviously 2 boats on a massive river. There's no lanes, and the umpire, who's in a boat behind, will be instructing the coxes where they should and shouldn't be. But those coxes are responsible for the outcome of the steering.
Ella Stadler, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Did you win?
I did not win,
sadly.
Cambridge on top those years. Glad to
But
say.
you'll be watching on Saturday.
I will be.
Yeah, and our reporter Isabel Fekulak will be in Putney tomorrow, soaking up the atmosphere so you can watch some of it live.
I think I'm going to watch it too.
Yeah, it'll be great fun. Well, we've got lots more on astronauts headed for the moon. You're watching Britain's Newsroom live on GB News, and next we've got the weather.
And back. At this time.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Use extra care on the A9 Kessock Bridge, where high winds are making conditions tricky. On the A55 at Britannia Bridge, there is a 30 miles per hour limit in both directions until further notice. In Staffordshire, the M6 toll northbound between junction T6 and junction T8 is closed in all lanes after a road traffic collision. In Greater London, the M25 clockwise exit slip at junction 25 has a broken down vehicle with one lane shut. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and London North Western Railway have major engineering work between London Euston and Milton Keynes Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to boost your bank account this year. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50. Plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 o'clock on Friday, the 3rd of April. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Lawless. Bosses at Marks & Spencer certainly think so. They've accused the London Mayor Sadiq Khan of losing control on crime, and they're demanding more support from the Home Secretary across the entire country. Adam Hawksby is from M&S.
Our colleagues that work in store deserve to go into work each day without fear of intimidation or abuse or harassment.
Well, shoplifting has risen by 13% over the last year. Today calls for more to be done to tackle it, as I'm speaking to people here in Clapham, finding out if they're worried about this rise.
And there's been a North Sea drilling U-turn. The Energy Secretary Ed Miliband will give the green light to the first gas field project in a decade. But why has it taken 5 months to change his mind?
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Going, gone. That was the US President has axed his Attorney General Pam Bondi. The turbine doesn't stop there. The Army's Chief of Staff, General Randy George, has been given the boot too. Are they taking the rap for the war?
Then I call up France, Macron, whose wife treats him extremely badly. And he's still recovering from the right to the job.
Well, overnight, the French President Emmanuel Macron calls those comments by the US President Donald Trump not elegant and not up to par. Will Trump fire back? I bet he will.
And therefore, our expectations of the Prime Minister of Britain is that he must take steps that will prevent further negative impact on international events, such as World War III.
GB News exclusive. An Iranian dissident risks his life to send a video message calling on Britain to join that war.
It's just such a tremendous place to be. The views are extraordinary. It's really fun to be floating around, and it just makes me feel like a little kid.
This morning, the 4 astronauts on board Artemis 2 became the first humans since 1972 to leave Earth's orbit. But they've had a few plumbing problems.
And it's Good Friday today, which means Christians across the country, across the world, are marking the crucifixion of Jesus, one of the most significant days in the entire Christian calendar.
Strange watching that picture of those astronauts floating around in the spaceship. I didn't realise it's the first time people have left Earth's orbit since 1972.
Yeah, it is.
Incredible.
It is an historic mission, but they brings you back to Earth with a bump in a way, doesn't it? The first serious problem so far, the lavvy.
Yes.
Very important.
Very important.
Very
Toilet,
important.
water and food.
Exactly.
They would be my main concerns,
yes, I think the loo would have been my most important priority, I hate to say it.
Absolutely.
But anyway, they have fixed it. You'll be pleased to know. Greatly reassuring.
And I think they get to the moon on Monday, but of course they're not landing. This is in preparation for a trip, I think in 2 years' time perhaps, where they will, not necessarily these astronauts, but some astronauts will land on the moon again.
Which would be extraordinary.
It would.
Because I can still remember the excitement as an 8-year-old when we landed on the moon before. There wasn't 24-hour TV in those days, so it was all the wrong timings, as I recall. Yes. But everybody talked about it, everybody knew the name of the astronauts, and as I said to you the other day, my dad even pointed out the spaceship on its way to the moon, and I believed
it wasn't really it. But imagine what we'll be able to see this time with so much improvement in communications technology. I mean, we will get video tours of the moon. It will be pretty impressive.
And you know, Buzz Aldrin, who was the second man on the moon, he's still alive.
Yeah, did you meet him?
I did. I met him in Morocco. Extraordinary man. Extraordinary.
And we still can't remember the name of the third man. We must look it up.
Got to look him up.
Well, we'd love to know what you think about all the topics we're discussing today. Send your views and comments to
gbnews.com/you'll say. But first, here's the news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much indeed. Good morning to you. 4 minutes past 10. Our headlines from the GB Newsroom. Marks & Spencer has called for a crackdown on retail crime after a week plagued by antisocial behaviour. The retailers criticised the Home Secretary and the Mayor of London after a string of incidents involving shoplifting and violence at its stores, resulting in some staff being hospitalised. Earlier this week, scores of young people surged into shops in South London in so-called link-ups organised on social media. Well, M&S says police should be given more resources to tackle incidents it says are becoming more brazen, more organised and more aggressive. M&S External Affairs Director Adam Hawksby told GB News staff are scared to go to work.
Our colleagues that work in store deserve to go into work each day without fear of intimidation or abuse or harassment. And at the moment, it feels like the levels of that harassment, as we said in our piece, are getting worse. We feel like we're doing our bit. We've invested tens of millions in guards, in body-worn cameras, in technology. But there's only so much you can do with security in store. And so what we're calling on is for ministers and mayors across the country responsible for police forces to give police backing in terms of resources and tools.
President Trump has threatened to hit Iran's civilian infrastructure, including electricity plants, if its leaders don't agree to a deal. It comes after a US airstrike on a bridge near Tehran that reportedly killed at least 8 people and injured nearly 100 more. Iran, meanwhile, has launched fresh strikes on Israel and Gulf nations, setting fire to an oil refinery in Kuwait, and its military claims to have shot down a second US fighter jet. Meanwhile, the US president has mocked Sir Keir Starmer as weak and aimed fresh criticism at the UK's Navy as Britain leads diplomatic efforts to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The US president impersonated the Prime Minister, recounting Sir Keir saying he would have to ask his team about sending, in Trump's words, 2 old broken-down aircraft carriers to the Middle East. Reform UK's Treasury spokesperson Robert Jenrick says their previously amicable relationship appears to be over.
It seems clear to me that the Prime Minister has little, if any, no influence on events elsewhere in the world. He's praising himself, patting himself on the back that he blocked the US from using our bases initially, only to predictably U-turn. But what difference has that made to people here when they see fuel rising on the forecourts, or their energy bills are dropping and they're so much higher than they were expecting? What we've got to see is the war come to an end and real action be taken here.
The US Army's top officers to retire after being asked to step down by Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth. The Pentagon has confirmed Randy George, who had more than a year left in the job, will retire with immediate effect. It came shortly after Donald Trump said the war with Iran is expected to conclude very shortly, and came hours after Pam Bondi, a long-time Trump ally, was sacked as Attorney General over her handling of the Epstein files. Bondi will be replaced by her former deputy, Todd Blanche. Ed Miliband's expected to authorise the first major North Sea oil and gas field project in almost a decade. The Energy Secretary is to give the green light for the Jackdaw site off the coast of Aberdeen after concluding it is compatible with the UK's carbon reduction targets as ministers face political pressure to boost domestic energy production. Miliband, however, is still understood to be opposed to the Rosebank field, which predominantly contains oil reserves. The NHS is bracing for rolling strike action by doctors throughout the rest of 2026. NHS Chief Executive Sir Jim Mackey's warned hospital leaders that the union could escalate industrial action to 1 strike every 4 weeks over the next year. That's after the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, cast doubt over whether a deal with the British Medical Association could be reached. The 4 astronauts on NASA's Artemis 2 mission have now left the Earth's orbit as they make a final push towards the moon. In a live stream from space, Commander Reese Weidman spoke to anyone watching.
First and foremost, we all wanted to give a shout out to our families first, because we are pretty far from Earth and we have not gotten to say hi to them yet.
That's Reese Weidman there. He also described a spectacular view of Earth from pole to pole. The mission has completed what's known as a critical engine burn that will propel the spacecraft on its journey to the far side of the moon. The Canadian astronaut on board, Jeremy Hansen, said humanity has once again shown what we are capable of. Finally, parts of Britain are facing winds of up to 90 miles per hour as Storm Dave hits the UK. We're being warned that it could cause damage and disruption to travel, all sorts of travel, roads, railways, flights and ferries over the weekend. Northern parts of the UK are going to be hit worse. That's coming later today and into Saturday and also Sunday, Easter Sunday, with some disruptive snow likely in the northwest of Scotland too. And those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 10:30.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
So Marks and Spencers have really put the boot in today, both on the Home Secretary and the Mayor of London. They say, with some justification, rising crime on the high street is putting both staff and shoppers at risk on Britain's high streets.
Well, Adam Hawksby from Marks and Spencers spoke to our breakfast programme earlier.
Our colleagues that work in store deserve to go into work each day without fear of intimidation or abuse or harassment. And at the moment, it feels like the levels of that harassment, as we said in our piece, are getting worse. We feel like we're doing our bit. We've invested tens of millions in guards, in body-worn cameras, in technology. But there's only so much you can do with security in store. And so what we're calling on is for ministers and mayors across the country responsible for police forces to give police backing in terms of resources and tools.
Well, if you've been impacted by crime on the high street, if you've witnessed any shoplifting, do get in touch with us on GB News Your Say. We'd love to know your experience and whether or not the police have helped you or if you've been forgotten about.
Yeah, and as we were saying earlier, Miriam, until recently, if the shoplifting total was under £200, the police weren't even going to attend.
No, absolutely.
And I still think it's a big, big problem. There's charming security guard in Little M&S where I live. He's so lovely, and I worry about him, actually, because he knows he can't intervene, but he probably would, and then he'd get into trouble, and he's been told he mustn't intervene physically because he'd be breaking the law.
I remember when I was an MP, this was going on and really increasing in particularly some of the co-op stores, which were being targeted. And I remember speaking to the store manager and he was saying that it was very demoralising not to be able to intervene. Because if you're a young man and you're strong, you want to use your strength to try and protect the shop. And it was very demoralising to just have to let them walk out. Now, if you do want to share your experiences anonymously, so not on the Your Say platform, you can email us on gbviews@gbnews.uk, and of course we wouldn't read your name out or anything that would identify you, so you can get in touch with us that way as well.
And I'm sure you've seen, as I have, people shoplifting in the shop and getting away with it. And you think, what do? Do you stick your foot out and trip them up?
Oh, well, why don't you try it?
Yeah.
You'll probably get in trouble, Andrew.
I'll probably get in trouble.
But it's worth doing.
It'd be a good story,
and what's so strange is seeing all the more expensive items now, especially in some parts of London, in plastic boxes, like pieces of meat in plastic boxes with a catch that you then have to take.
I've seen it even with jars of coffee. The large jar of coffee, which is at least a tenner. Yeah. You have to ask because it's so high up.
Yes. No, that's a cheap way to keep things safe.
Apparently baby food's target too.
Really?
Yeah.
I suppose anything that's relatively expensive and easy to swipe. Well, GB News' national reporter, Will Godley, has been investigating this, and he can join us now. Will, we've just been talking about some of the security measures that shops can and can't take. What have you found out there outside M&S in Clapham?
Well, good morning to both of you. Yeah, people watching, listening will have seen even the likes of chocolate bars for just £1 behind security screens in supermarkets. That's one of the measures shops are using to tackle shoplifting. Other items such as Red Bull in the Greggs just on the other side of the road where I'm standing, now behind the fridge where only staff members can access it rather than just being able to get it yourself off the shelves. That's another measure that shops are using to tackle shoplifting, which is on the rise. The latest official figures from the ONS show that shoplifting rose by 13% in the last year. That's shoplifting offences, but trade unions are warning that the real figures could be much higher, as many instances don't go recorded, and the British Retail Consortium estimating that last year there were 5.5 million incidences of shoplifting, and many of them violent and abusive. And I've been out here on the high street in Clapham asking people here whether that's something they're worried about.
I think a stronger police presence will kind of shut that down, but I think it also needs to kind of go deeper into the system where we're kind of helping these troubled kids get like better opportunities so that they don't resort to this kind of stuff.
It was a bit unsettling, so you don't feel as safe, but yeah, I still walk around and I still feel like it's a good area to live in, right? So yeah, I don't see it as a major issue, but definitely something to pay attention to.
And the majority of people who shoplift, I think, do it all the time.
but to get away with it, and the shops, the shops has a security on their door and everything, and probably in the shop. So you could say they're not doing their job either.
Well, we're here on Clapham High Street after two different instances of teenage antisocial behaviour in the last week. Hundreds of teenagers gathering on two separate days, and many of the shops here having to take action to prevent their shops from being looted, and other shops falling victim to that as well. And that's why the boss of M&S today calling on the government to do more to tackle shoplifting, asking for the government to better support police, joining calls from the likes of Tesco's and Co-op as well to have more to be done to tackle shoplifting. The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has said after this incident in Clapham that we need to continue to be tough on crime, and the government say they've made it easier for police to clamp down on shoplifters by eliminating the immunity for thefts under £200. But clearly today the boss of M&S still feels more needs to be done.
Will Godley, thank you very much for that report. Now, we've been talking about some of the reasons why shoplifting might have increased. So the decision not to prosecute for thefts of under £200, changes to policing. But we've also been looking at behaviour, because there seems to be a lot more antisocial behaviour since COVID. So we're going to speak now to the psychologist, Dr. Pam Spur, to discuss this. Pam, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you think there has been a change in behaviour since COVID? Are more people willing to commit these kind of crimes than before? And if so, why?
Well, I think in the last few years, yes, we have seen increasing signs of conduct disorder. And I think with these marauding gangs, we're seeing a toxic mix of poor parenting, personality disorders like conduct disorder, displaying themselves, a lack of good role models, a lack of after-school activities, a lack of police presence, and, of course, the sometimes toxic influence of social media. So there's a lot going on in these cases. And one thing I want to say about parenting, of course, some of these children have had perfectly adequate parenting, but many of them will have had chaotic parenting, and that leads to boundaryless behavior where they do not respect anyone else's boundaries. They may have had neglectful or inadequate parenting, which means they're vulnerable to seeking out sort of gang behavior. So they join these gangs via social media. Some of them may have been bullied and become bullies themselves. There's so many things when it comes to these issues, but parenting plays a big part. Lack of guidance where they can go after school, see good role models, and the police. We need more police on the beat, definitely, to curtail this. Where I live in Southeast London, I have never seen a police officer. No. I moved here 4.5 years ago, and I know in Croydon, which is further south than I am, they've had a lot of this kind of issues. Also, we need to look at personality issues. Some of these children will be developing conduct disorder, which then as an adult becomes antisocial personality disorder. And these behaviors, they just lash out. Sometimes they've had trauma in their past, and that leads to this recklessness and impulsive behavior. And of course, social media feeds that impulsiveness, because you can get on TikTok, within seconds, you can be part of this group planning something. So there are so many strands to this, and we all need to look at all these separate strands, what can be done. And even if there's poor parenting, if they have good role models in after-school clubs, sometimes that kind of counters the poor parenting they may have at home. But there are no youth clubs. They've just gone. And that the Labour government is introducing some younger groups for parents to go to with younger children. But we desperately need more for the tweens and the adolescents to try and bring their energy into doing something positive. And ultimately, I have to say, when these kids are caught, I strongly believe in boot camp. I think, they should all go through a regime where they learn, they get up at 6, they eat their breakfast, they work hard, they physically train, they learn discipline. I wish the government could bring back some sort of boot camps for these these out-of-control teenagers.
I think it's a great idea, and it'll be very popular with our listeners and viewers, Pam. But I think as well, Dr. Pam, a lot of people would probably say the main reason they do this is because they can get away with it. And it's all very well for the Mayor of London to say, we're getting tough, we will take whatever actions necessary. They've arrested 6 people so far, 6, and this has happened 2-3 times, and there are hundreds of these feral youths on the rampage.
And this is why the police presence that we're lacking is crucial. You know, 15, 20 years ago, you would pass bobbies on the beat literally every day. And that does curtail some of this. And even if it didn't curtail some of this, they'd be there to act, get backup, and get the police presence there to probably, hopefully, stop these gangs from terrorizing shop owners and passers-by. So, you know, I think that is a really big part of this. We need that visual presence of the police as a reminder of what is good, boundaried behavior if you're not learning it from your parents.
Very good.
Well, Pam Spur, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
There's an idea.
Absolutely.
Reform UK, the Tory party, think about it. Good idea, be very popular with the voters.
It absolutely could be. I think the problem is the police are saying parents get control of your children, but if they've already lost control by the time they're teenagers, I don't think there's much that can be done. Really, you need by the time a child's 7 or 8, they need to know how to respect authority.
And often, I'm afraid, in some of those homes, there's no dad.
I think that'll be in a huge proportion of those homes.
We get into all sorts of trouble saying it, but it is a say it. We're going to say it. There's a lot of homes with those kids where there's no dad, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and it's not making an excuse, but I do think these kids need something to do. You know, 15, 16, a few generations ago, they would have been working, they would have had a responsibility. Now they have to stay at school. They need something to do in the school holidays that's interesting and not criminal. And there often isn't. And if parents have to be out at work all the time, earning a living, you know, they are going to get into trouble unless there's something constructive and legal for them to do. And there just doesn't seem to be in so many places. It's just teenagers, isn't it?
I know we've got a statement from our favourite mayor, Sadiq Khan.
Would you like me to read it?
So favourite, I'll let you read it.
The scenes we saw in Clapham earlier this week were utterly unacceptable.
Snort.
Not only did they spread fear in the local community, but assaulting and intimidating hard-working retail staff and police officers are serious offences. More arrests are likely to follow in the coming days. And we were looking at the number of open police stations in London, 160 back in 2008, now 30 to 40.
Shameful, isn't it? And they're still closing. It started under Labour, multiplied, accelerated under the Tories, and it's continuing under Sadiq Khan. And I'm sorry, they are an important part of the local community. They're a source of deterrent. There's just a source of reassurance. The police station up in Hampstead, North London, I think has been shut for 20 years. Prime real estate falling into disrepair. It's a scandal.
Absolutely. More police stations, more parenting, more boot camps. There you go. We've solved it.
We've got it.
Time now for the Great British Giveaway. How would you like a brand new camper van in time for summer? Not only that, £25,000 in tax-free cash. Here are all the details you need.
It's our Easter treat to you. Your chance to win over £92,000 worth of prizes. First, you could bank an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like this summer. And that's not all. You could be driving away in this brand new Benevan 122 camper van. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, has plenty of storage, and comes complete with a built-in kitchen and bathroom. Imagine where you could take the family in this stunning home from home. You really could win this prize package worth over £92,000. But you've got to be in it to win it. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes are closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up next, drill, baby drill. That's the new message from the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband. Well, that's a turnaround.
Who'd have thought it? We're going to be going through that and more. They'll have plenty to say, and I'm sure, with Dr. Rennie Hunderkamp and Jonathan Liss. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Derek Herbert, who's a Winston Churchill impersonator. Derek, or should I say Sir Derek of Churchillshire. It's a magnificent privilege to have you on. What do you think Winnie would say about the prospect of being replaced by Rattus Rattus?
I think he'd be terribly upset. I mean, to have his face taken off a £5 note to replaced by pigeon and bloody rats, I think it's a disgrace, and we should be ashamed of ourselves.
And Derek Herbert, of course, the true rat in this equation was the guy that Churchill beat, Adolf Hitler.
Adolf Hitler, that's right. We don't want him on there to say it, or anything that relates to him. Absolutely. I mean, we're living in a very woke society. I hate that word, but I just believe we're all very, very disrespectful. Absolutely. And voted the greatest Britain of all time. What the hell is going on?
And Derek Herbert, Donald Trump, of course, there you go, as you have a puff on your cigar. Well earned, may I say, sir, and hopefully you had champagne and whiskey for breakfast as well, just like the great man himself. But Derek Herbert, please, could I get you to recite the epic, soul-stirring speech, of course, Winston Churchill most famed for, we shall fight them on the beaches.
Yes, we shall go on to the end. We shall fight with growing confidence and with growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, wherever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every week there are stories that shape the national conversation.
We'll be discussing that.
And on Saturday Morning Live, we break them down.
Is that true? This is fascinating, isn't it?
The politics, the headlines, the debates everyone's talking about.
And the questions that you want answered. Do you think that was a legitimate attack for him to make?
What led you to set up this fantastic movement?
You know what? It's a great question, Olivia.
So what are you waiting for?
Your weekend starts here. Saturdays at 10 a.m, only on GB News.
Welcome back. It's 28 minutes past 10. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Got the panel here, Rennie Hunderkamp and Jonathan Liss, and unusual for me to be here on a Friday.
I know, so, I'm very confused.
Yeah, well, I wasn't here on Monday, so I'm doing Friday instead. And then I'm hot.
It's very pleasant.
Hot, for me, particularly. Hot. I'm very nice to see Jonathan again, and glad to see that your taste in jumpers hasn't improved, Jonathan.
He's very proud.
This is actually a gorgeous jumper. Okay. I won't have a word said against it.
Well,
so you're just being spiteful as usual.
No, it's
lovely to see you.
My observation.
So we're off to a great start.
What should we talk about?
Talk about Kenny Badenoch.
Oh, yeah.
My favourite topic.
Jonathan wants to talk about Kenny Badenoch. So why don't you kick off, Jonathan?
Well,
are you being drawn to the fact that her poll rating is steadily increasing?
I love the smell of sour grapes and U-turns in the morning, and
been quite a lot of those with your lot. Are we up to 16, Jonathan, with Labour and Starmer?
I'm not a member of any political party.
Do we call Jackdaw a U-turn?
I think we do.
But the screeching tyre sound that you can hear over your breakfast tables is Kenny Badenoch waking up to the fact that the British public is not supporting Donald Trump over Keir Starmer, and that Badenoch made absolutely the wrong call at the beginning of this invasion by not only saying that we should have sort of rolled over for the Americans from the get-go and let them use all of our bases for whatever purpose, but actually to join in. I think that there is. I can't remember what the actual thing that she said at the beginning was, but both she and Farage seem to be indicating quite strongly at the start of the war that we should be going Blair and Bush style, shoulder to shoulder.
She suggested we should be taking offensive action.
Yes, exactly. So that would have been completely illegal for a start, and it also would have been absolutely against the wishes of the British people. And so having made that absolutely crazily wrong call, and as the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer was absolutely right. You only get one chance to make that call. With a U-turn over policy, you can make a U-turn before the policy's been enacted. But if you make the wrong call over offensive action, you've done it. You can't sort of say, oh, we're not going to that hasn't happened. It's happened. And so on the key question of judgment, she came up short, and now she's sort of scrambling to get back on side with the British people by criticising Trump. And I'm obviously very glad that she's criticising Trump because he's doing a lot of things wrong, and actually nothing he's done so far.
Does any of this matter to her?
Of course it matters, because it's about
a party with 119 MPs.
She's the leader of the opposition, Andrew.
Yeah, but
and I think that one thing, look, I'll be generous and I'll welcome the fact that she's criticising Trump and basically taking the British national interest. And if that means siding with the Prime Minister, then so be it. But it's a little bit late in the day.
Well, what do you think?
But it's not helping Starmer, is it? It doesn't appear to be helping Starmer in the polls that he's taken the stance. And I agree with you. I think he's taken the stance that most of the British people do think is the right one. And the Middle East is a mess right now and very worrying. But it's not helping him in the polls because there's too much other stuff where he isn't taking the British
I think it's helped his personal poll rating, which is now 11 points less negative than it was before.
Yes, he's now
I think he's now minus 54 as opposed to minus 63 or minus 65.
Okay, but the important thing also is that, well, first of all, I think we should be grateful that he made the right call, and we can talk about polls and all the rest, but actually when Prime Minister put to the test, he had a principle. I know that people have accused him of being flip-flopping or sitting on the fence or whatever. Actually, he didn't do that. He was quite resolute, and he's kept to that principle from the beginning. You can disagree with it or agree with it, but I don't think it's fair to say that he's flip-flopped on this particular issue. And when you look at someone like Donald Trump, who is sort of saying in the space of one day, we've won the war, we're winning the war, we need help to win the war, we don't need help to win the war, and now saying he's basically going to potentially leave the Straits of Hormuz for us to deal with, whoever wants it, just this complete abrogation of responsibility. You think Starmer's call looks more and more sound each day. And I really do think that Farage, in particular, is going to suffer from this because Labour is going to bring it up time and time again that when push came to shove, he chose Trump.
He was trying to distance him.
Yeah, and Farage was pressed on this at the press conference yesterday, and he did put some distance between
He did, and I think he is doing...
Because the polls are suggesting it is damaging for Reform, Nigel Farage's long friendship with Trump.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think he did show yesterday more anti-Trump sentiment than he showed at all along the way. So he definitely is trying to distance himself. But we have the May elections coming up, where the damage to these parties is going to be catastrophic.
But then Starmer is actually probably going to be saved. In the same way that, by common consent, Boris Johnson would have been kicked out in February of 2022, but then obviously Russia invaded Ukraine. I think a similar thing is that any talk that there might be some kind of coup attempt against Starmer after the May elections has been sort of kiboshed by this, because actually,
we haven't seen this. I don't know if I agree with that. We haven't seen the scale, the defeat in May. If it is catastrophic, Jonathan, there will be loud rumbles.
Of course, there'll be loud rumbles, but at the same time, when you do have in the middle of a war, and I just don't think...
And the fact that Angela Rayner is still under investigation over her tax affairs is a factor too.
Well, that's also the case for the Conservatives, isn't it? That even if the Conservatives do really badly, now that Robert Jenrick's no longer in the party, there's nobody obvious to take over.
So
same as Labour. So potentially that does make the leaders more...
Which is probably good, because frankly, I am terrified by Starmer going and being replaced by a Rayner or a Streeting or whoever else.
You're terrified by Streeting? I don't really like Streeting compared to Starmer. I mean, Streeting's more on your side of politics. He's much the right of Starmer. If that's, I think
But he's not going to win.
Well, Rene works in the NHS and has seen that he's made no impact in the NHS whatsoever, despite the claiming that he's cutting waiting lists. We know how he's doing it.
We know how he's
paying,
doing it.
and it's just to get people off lists.
More than that. I now go into work every day and have 5 rejected referrals and scans that would never have been rejected.
Well, we should come on to that
because that keeps the waiting list.
But
down.
we're going to have to leave it there for now. Thank you both. We'll see you again in an hour. But first of all, we've got your 60-second news update with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you. 10:34 the time. Our headlines. Marks and Spencer is calling the government to crack down on retail crime, warning theft and attacks on staff are becoming more brazen and more aggressive. It comes after a string of incidents involving shoplifting and violence at its stores. President Trump's threatened to strike Iran's bridges and electric power plants, saying the US hasn't even started destroying what's left. It comes after a US airstrike on a bridge near Tehran that reportedly killed at least 8 people and injured 100 more. Ed Miliband is expected to authorise the first major North Sea oil and gas field project in almost a decade. The Energy Secretary is to give the green light for the Jackdaw gas field off the coast of Aberdeen, after concluding it is compatible with the UK's carbon reduction targets. The 4 NASA astronauts on the Artemis 2 mission have now left the Earth's orbit as they make a final push towards the moon. In a live stream from space, Commander Reed Wiseman described a spectacular view of Earth from pole to pole. And millions of people are still expected to be on the roads this weekend for the Easter holidays, despite the arrival of Storm Dave. We're being told about disruption to roads, railways, air and ferries with yellow warnings issued. And those are your headlines. More coming up in about 25 minutes' time.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, still coming up on Britain's Newsroom, we're keeping a close eye on Artemis 2 as the astronauts shoot towards the moon. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Morning. Plenty going on with the weather this Easter weekend. Many of us seeing some rain this morning. Then Storm Dave arrives in the north tomorrow. Things looking a bit calmer and a bit brighter for many of us on Sunday and Bank Holiday Monday. But we start off with a lot of cloud and outbreaks of rain in many places today. Could well see some heavier rain for a good part of the morning over North Wales, northwest England, spreading into northeast England. Further south it should dry up a little bit. A lot of cloud here, but something a bit brighter this afternoon. And we'll see a mixture of sunshine and showers for Scotland and Northern Ireland, those showers of snow over the hills. But further south, really quite mild actually, 15, maybe 16 degrees. But it is quite breezy, quite blustery conditions, particularly this morning over northern England. There's that heavy rain slowly sinking south through this evening. More showers packing into western Scotland, snow over the hills, some hail and the odd rumble of thunder possible in the showers almost anywhere through the day today. Showers may ease a little bit across Northern Ireland. We'll end the day here with some fine weather, but still quite gusty and blustery. Same goes for much of northern England. That zone of wetter weather sinking south across the Midlands towards South Wales, but kind of fizzling out as it does so. And it should clear away during Friday night. That'll leave something a bit clearer for pretty much all parts of the UK, but also a little bit colder, so temperatures dropping quite sharply as we head into Saturday morning. But we should start off with some sunny spells. The breeze will start to pick up in the west, however, and this is the first sign of Storm Dave. Ahead of that, as I said, we will see those temperatures falling away with a frost likely across rural parts of northern England and much of Scotland. But generally a bright start to Saturday. We'll see some sunny spells tomorrow morning, but clouding over in the west. Outbreaks of patchy rain for Wales, northern England, but the rain getting heavier for Northern Ireland, then spreading into central and southern Scotland with more snow to come. Initially over the tops of the mountains, but that'll come down to lower levels later on. But it's the winds from Storm Dave that are likely to cause the biggest problems. We do have a number of warnings in place for Saturday and into Sunday morning across the north.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Road users should take care on the A9 Kessock Bridge, where high winds are making driving conditions difficult. On the A55 at Britannia Bridge, there is a temporary 30 miles per hour limit in both directions until further notice. In Staffordshire, the M6 toll northbound between junction T6 and junction T8 is shut in all lanes after a crash, with normal traffic expected by around 20 to 3 this afternoon. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and London North Western Railway have major engineering work between London Euston and Milton Keynes Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. It's 20 to 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom.
Today is Good Friday. Thousands will gather for open-air performances around the country. There'll be marches, services, and it will be a powerful display of faith in probably one of the most important days in the Christian calendar.
And from local communities to the Vatican, today remains one of the most significant moments in the Catholic calendar.
Father David Palmer is parish priest for Gainsborough and Market Raisin and joins us now. Father, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Morning. Are we in the morning still?
Oh yeah, you're right. It is still the morning. You'll be very busy this afternoon, I'm quite sure, with Good Friday services and Stations of the Cross. We've heard it before, but can you explain why such a sad day in the Catholic faith, the Christian faith, the crucifixion of Jesus, is called Good Friday?
Yes. I mean, to go into full detail, we'd need far longer than we have here. You'd have to get into the Passover and the sacrifice of the Old Testament. But to get to the crux of the issue, and interestingly, the word crux comes from the Latin word for cross, as does crucis, crux. So in the English language, when we want to talk about the most important thing, we make a reference to the cross, okay, which in itself says something very significant. But today, at 3 o'clock, the time that Jesus died, we will be performing a sort of ancient ceremony. And a key part of that, an ancient part of that, is we take a cross and we unveil the cross. And at each part of the unveiling, we say the phrase, "Behold the wood of the cross on which hung the salvation of the world." And that's at the very heart of Good Friday. So if you take the Christian story, fundamentally what you have is a story of humanity's rebellion against God, from the Adam and Eve story and onwards, and God's continual attempt to draw us back to him. And in the story of Christ, God becoming incarnate, God sent his own son to the world, and we reject him. We take him, we crucify him. It's the ultimate rejection of humanity against God's love. And at that point of absolute rejection, where egregious pride, we rise up against our Creator. From the cross, Jesus says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And so the cross is a sign that our hate, our sin, our rebellion is overcome by God's love, forgiveness, and redemption. And that's why it's news for us.
And Father, have you noticed an increase in people being interested in the Catholic faith? I mean, we're hearing incredible reports from Europe about more and more people joining the church. They're expecting record numbers of baptisms in France this Easter Sunday. Is that something you think we're seeing here in the UK?
Well, I can speak from my own experience. So in the Diocese of Nottingham, where I serve, we have had the highest number of adult converts coming in this Easter for 40 years.
Wow.
And in my own parish, which is just a small little market town, Market Raisin, in Lincolnshire, this Easter I have 8 adults being baptised and received into the church. So yes, I think without a doubt something's happening.
Is it because we live in such uncertain times, Father, and the church perhaps is a sign of continuity, solidarity?
I think so, and I think especially so we've got quite a few young adults being received this year, but most of them are young adults. And I think partly they haven't been given an identity, a tradition. Things are confusing. And here in the Christian faith, there is this ancient story that our society was built upon. And I think people are looking for something solid, for something unchanging. You know, the cross stays still while the world turns, is a saying. And I think, yes, absolutely, people are looking for roots in something that matters.
And they're faithful to the traditional message of the Easter weekend, Father. That the Last Supper was on Thursday night, last night. Friday is the crucifixion, and then on Easter Sunday, he rises. Is the resurrection.
Yes, absolutely. The evidence does seem to be that the churches that are growing, and I think that's largely the Catholic Church and also some of the more sort of hardcore, should we say, sort of evangelical churches, in both cases, they're churches that proclaim the gospel. We're not trying to water it down or make it sort of social niceness. We're saying, actually, this matters. Jesus died for you. We are sinners. We need his salvation. He died and rose again. And as Tom Holland talks about, keep Christianity weird. And that does work. If you actually say, this is what we believe, that has a power for people. And the mistake we made for a long time was trying to make it kind of acceptable and easy. But God doesn't call us for an easy life. He calls us for greatness, actually.
Father David Palmer, thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing your thoughts about Good Friday.
Yes, and happy Easter, Father. I hope we get some rest at the end.
Absolutely.
It's a busy time. I saw my parish priest last night. I said, Father, 1 down, 3 to go.
Incredible.
It really is.
I was talking about the record numbers of baptisms into the Catholic Church in France. For the last few decades, it's been around 5,000 each Holy Saturday, so that's tomorrow. This year, there will be 21,386 adults baptised into the Catholic Church in France. Isn't that amazing?
There is a renaissance going on.
Yeah, incredible stuff.
And I've seen it I definitely see it in the Catholic Church. Some people say, because we've got quite a large Eastern European population in Britain now, there's an influx from that community. But
I think, like you say, the Catholic Church has kept with the same traditions for centuries.
There's no women priests. That's a contentious issue. And they stay. It's the same gospel. It's the same message. It's the same service. Nothing has changed virtually. When I first started going to church, the priest said Mass with his back to us. But that changed in Vatican II, and then he faced us, and that's quite right. But not much has changed since.
You see, I'm a Protestant, so we represent the Reformation right here. But I have to say, I'm very attracted to the idea of rituals and beliefs that you can link all the way back to the early church. I think that is something in today's fast-moving, fast-changing world.
And last night at the end of Mass, they stripped the altar, they removed the communion host, and they processed with it, and then it went to a side and it was kept in a separate chapel, and people stayed the night in the church with the body of Christ, because of course last night he was on his own in the Garden of Gethsemane, abandoned by the 12 apostles.
Well, they kept falling asleep,
They kept falling asleep, and he was arrested and taken away to be tried and executed. It was a very and still moving after all these years. Really moving.
Yeah, amazing. Well, do get in touch with your experiences of Good Friday, gbnews.com/yoursay. But coming up next,
the GB News exclusive, an Iranian dissident has risked his life to send a video message which calls on Britain to join the war. You may not agree with that sentiment, but you won't want to miss what he's got to say.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After a stormy few days, things are calming down in Italy with some sunny skies returning here for the Easter weekend. Meanwhile, the wet and windy weather continues to affect parts of Greece and Turkey. There's the sunnier skies in Italy, the winds easing slowly across the south also. Generally fine conditions for the Balearics, most of Spain and Portugal also seeing some sunshine, sunny spells for the Canaries. We'll see things warming up a little bit in Rome with more sunshine to come through Sunday, Monday and into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Every week there are stories that shape the national conversation.
Well, to be discussing that.
And on Saturday Morning Live, we break them down.
Is that true? This is fascinating, isn't it?
The politics, the headlines, the debates everyone's talking about.
And the questions that you want answered.
Do you think that was a legitimate attack for him to make?
What led you to set up this fantastic movement?
You know what? It's a great question, Olivia.
So what are you waiting for?
Your weekend starts here. Saturdays at 10 a.m, only on GB News.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 11 minutes to 11 and you're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Well, it's really interesting GB News exclusive. An Iranian dissident has risked his life to send a secret video message from inside the country urging Britain to take stronger action against the hated Ayatollah regime. Take a listen to this message.
We are under the belief that England has always been an ally to the US, and they've been highly influential in some of the most important changes in the world, and therefore our expectations of the Prime Minister of Britain is that he must take steps that will prevent further negative impact on international events such as World War III. Rest assured that keeping the Islamic Republic of Iran in place will lead to much bigger disasters, while Britain thinks they're dealing with full control over such a regime. However, this regime is uncontrollable, rest assured. We hope that they too will take action against this regime, just like the Americans and Israelis, and not only take a defensive position.
Well, the Iranian activist and campaigner Lily Mu joins us now. Lily, thank you so much for joining us. We heard this extremely brave man who's risked his life to send this message ask for Keir Starmer to do more to end the horrific regime that's still ruling Iran. Do you agree with him?
I want to first and foremost say hello to everyone and wish everybody a good Friday. And on that very spirit, I want to echo this very message that came from one of the bravest men alive, I would say, because knowing what this man has done is a risk of execution. And he took it upon himself to share the story of Iranian people who are saying, please do not stop till it's over. That's the appeal to the Americans and the appeal to the British government, because you see, Iranians truly believe that England is a beacon of hope and democracy. England is a country of Churchill and defeating the Nazis, an allyship that saved Europe. So in the memory of Iranians and in the minds of Iranians, it is the duty of Britain to also take part in this rescue mission of our people. It is not about encouraging of joining a war. What happens in Iran today, the bombs that are falling against the enemies of Iranian people, it's against the government that has mass murdered Iranians for coming to the streets and simply calling for regime change. change in January. More than 40,000 people, according to the regime figures themselves, have been massacred in the space of 48 hours in coordinated attacks against unarmed civilians. And now this very regime is using the uprising that took place in Iran in January as a point of punishment for the Iranians who are now calling out for the bombs to fall on them.
It is a terrible situation, Lily, and we just do send our best wishes to the Iranian people. And, well, we'll see if Keir Starmer's listening. Lily Moo, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
And still ahead, drill, baby, drill, move over, Ed Miliband. That should be the new catchphrase. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, plenty going on with the weather this Easter weekend. Many of us seeing some rain this morning. Then Storm Dave arrives in the north tomorrow. Things looking a bit calmer and a bit brighter for many of us on Sunday and Bank Holiday Monday. But we start off with a lot of cloud and outbreaks of rain in many places today. Could well see some heavier rain for a good part of the morning over North Wales, northwest England, spreading into northeast England. Further south it should dry up a little bit. A lot of cloud here, but something a bit brighter this afternoon. And we'll see a mixture of sunshine and showers for Scotland and Northern Ireland, those showers of snow over the hills. But further south, really quite mild actually, 15, maybe 16 degrees. But it is quite breezy, quite blustery conditions, particularly this morning over northern England. There's that heavy rain slowly sinking south through this evening. More showers packing into western Scotland, snow over the hills, some hail and the odd rumble of thunder possible in the showers almost anywhere through the day today. Showers may ease a little bit across Northern Ireland. We'll end the day here with some fine weather, but still quite gusty and blustery. Same goes for much of northern England. That zone of wetter weather sinking south across the Midlands towards South Wales, but kind of fizzling out as it does so, and it should clear away during Friday night. That'll leave something a bit clearer for pretty much all parts of the UK, but also a little bit colder, so temperatures dropping quite sharply as we head into Saturday morning. But we should start off with some sunny spells. The breeze will start to pick up in the west, however, and this is the first sign of Storm Dave. Ahead of that, as I said, we will see those temperatures falling away with a frost likely across rural parts of northern England and much of Scotland. But generally a bright start to Saturday. We'll see some sunny spells tomorrow morning, but clouding over in the west. Outbreaks of patchy rain for Wales, northern England, but the rain getting heavier for Northern Ireland, then spreading into central and southern Scotland with more snow to come. Initially over the tops of the mountains, but that'll come down to lower levels later on. But it's the winds from Storm Dave that are likely to cause the biggest problems. We do have a number of warnings in place for Saturday and into Sunday morning across the north.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could be the proud owner of a brand new Benevan 122. This very latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, comes complete with built-in kitchen, compact washroom, and is worth over £67,000. But that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like in the coming year. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It is 11 o'clock on Friday, the 3rd of April, Good Friday, of course, live across the United Kingdom, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, can you hear that sound? It's a screeching U-turn. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband will give the green light to the first gas field project in a decade. But why has it taken so long to do it?
And are we in lawless Britain? Bosses at Marks and Spencer seem to think so. They've accused Sir Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, of losing control on crime and have demanded more support from the Home Secretary across the country. Adam Hawksby is from M&S.
Our colleagues that work in store deserve to go into work each day without fear of intimidation or abuse or harassment.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Well, there's some turbulence in Trump's top team. The US president has axed his Attorney General Pam Bondi, and the Army's Chief of Staff, General Randy George, has also been given the boot.
Then I call up France, Macron, whose wife treats him extremely badly, and he's still recovering from the right to the jaw.
Paw to the jaw, French President Macron calls those comments by Trump not elegant and not up to par. Will Trump fire back? What do you think?
And therefore our expectations of the Prime Minister of Britain is that he must take steps that will prevent further negative impact on international events such as World War III.
In a GB News exclusive, an Iranian dissident has risked his life to send a video message calling on Britain to join the fight.
It's just such a tremendous place to be. The views are extraordinary. It's really fun to be floating around, and it just makes me feel like a little kid.
Well, there they are, the 4 astronauts on board the Artemis 2, flying at light speed towards the moon. But they've had 1 or 2 issues with the plumbing.
And today, Christians across Britain are marking Good Friday, which commemorates the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, one of the most significant days in the church calendar.
The church bells are ringing out here in Selby as Christians gather in the town to mark Good Friday. We'll be joining their walk of worship and marching with the Christians through the town later this afternoon.
That U-turn, he could have opened this, or given a go-ahead for that oil field 146 days ago. You think all the tax revenue that would be pouring into the exchequer from all the oil that would be sold on the international market? I think it's an absolute scandal. And he's been dragged screaming and shouting because of what's happening in Iran. He's just so pathologically opposed to anything to do with fossil fuel, isn't he?
Absolutely. There has been quite a change there amongst the political class over the last couple of years on this. I mean, pretty much everybody, there was a consensus consensus that we should move fully to renewables. So it's interesting to see that change. There's a great cartoon in the Telegraph today, you know, the Matt cartoon.
Brilliant.
And it's got a family doing an Easter egg hunt in their garden. And it says something like, the Easter eggs are buried underground, but Ed Miliband says we have to leave them there. That was quite good.
He gets it right so often.
He does, a superb cartoonist. Well, we'd love to know what you think about all these issues. Send your views and comments to
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you. 3 minutes past 11 here in the GB Newsroom. Marks and Spencer's called for a crackdown on retail crime after a week plagued by antisocial behaviour. The retailers criticised the Home Secretary and the Mayor of London after a string of incidents involving shoplifting and violence at its stores, resulting in some staff being hospitalised. Now, earlier this week, scores of young people surged into shops in South London in so-called link-ups organised on social media. M&S say police should have been given more resources to tackle incidents and says they're becoming more brazen, more organised and more aggressive. M&S External Affairs Director Adam Hawksby told GB News staff are scared to go to work.
Our colleagues that work in store deserve to go into work each day without fear of intimidation or abuse or harassment. And at the moment, it feels like the levels of that harassment, as we said in our piece, are getting worse. We feel like we're doing our bit. We've invested tens of millions in guards, in body-worn cameras, in technology. But there's only so much you can do with security in store. And so what we're calling on is for ministers and mayors across the country responsible for police forces to give police back in terms of resources and tools.
President Trump's threatened to hit Iran's bridges and electric power plants if its leaders don't agree to a deal. It comes after a US airstrike on a bridge near Tehran that reportedly killed at least 8 people and injured nearly 100 more. Well, Mr. Trump says the US hasn't even started destroying what is left in Iran. Iran, meanwhile, has launched fresh strikes on Israel and Gulf nations, setting fire to an oil refinery in Kuwait, and it claims to have shot down a second US F-35 fighter jet. Now, the Prime Minister has spoken to the leader in Kuwait. He has spoken to His Highness the Crown Prince and has condemned the reckless drone attack on that oil refinery. Meanwhile, the US President, well, he's mocked Sir Keir as weak and has criticised the UK's Navy of having broken down aircraft carriers, despite Britain leading diplomatic efforts to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Reform UK's Treasury spokesperson Robert Jenrick says their previously amicable relationship appears to be over.
It seems clear to me that the Prime Minister has little, if any, influence, no influence on events elsewhere in the world. He's praising himself, patting himself on the back that he blocked the US from using our bases initially, only to predictably U-turn. But what difference has that made to people here when they see fuel rising on the forecourts, or their energy bills are dropping and they're so much higher than they were expecting? What we've got to see is the war come to an end and real action be taken here.
The US Army's top officers to retire after being asked to step down by Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth. The Pentagon has confirmed Randy George, who had more than a year left of his term, will be retiring immediately. It comes shortly after Donald Trump said the war with Iran is expected to conclude very shortly. And it came hours after Pam Bondi, a long-time Trump ally, was sacked as Attorney General over her handling of the Epstein files. Bondi will be replaced by her former deputy, Todd Blanche. Ed Miliband's expected to authorise the first major North Sea oil and gas field project in almost a decade. The Energy Secretary is to give the green light for the Jackdaw site off the coast of Aberdeen after concluding it's compatible with the UK's carbon reduction targets. Ministers are facing political pressure to boost domestic energy production. Miliband, though, is said to be still opposed to the Rosebank field, which predominantly contains oil reserves. The 4 astronauts on NASA's Artemis 2 mission have left the Earth's orbit as they make a final push towards the moon.
First and foremost, we all wanted to give a shout out to our families first, because we are pretty far from Earth and we have not gotten to say hi to them yet.
Well, in a live stream from space, Commander Reed Wiseman described a spectacular view of Earth from pole to pole. The mission has completed what's known as a critical engine burn that will propel the spacecraft to the far side of the moon. The Canadian astronaut on board, Jeremy Hansen, said humanity has once again shown what we're capable of. Millions of people are expected to hit the roads this Easter weekend despite the arrival of Storm Dave. It is forecast to bring 90-mile-an-hour winds across northern parts of the UK on Saturday and into Easter Sunday. Some snow is possible in Scotland. Plus, there will be almost no trains to or from London Euston over the weekend due to engineering work, with the dreaded replacement buses to run instead. Finally, Meghan Markle has shared a video of Prince Archie skiing behind his father. In the footage, the 6-year-old Archie can be seen switching sides with the Duke of Sussex. Decent technique, I think you'd have to agree. And the Duchess of Sussex captioned the video, "My boys, quick learner Archie, so proud," with a red heart emoji. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more in about 20 minutes.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
What a pitiful thing that was from the Duchess of Sussex.
She's a proud mum.
She's showing the back of him again, saying to the world, "I'm never going to let you see their faces." It's ridiculous. We know what your game is.
I sympathise. I don't show my children's
Well, she don't show it at all then.
Maybe she wants to prove that they exist.
Oh. Drives me nuts.
Although it doesn't really prove they exist if you can't see the face. But anyway.
It could have been just nicked off of flipping YouTube.
Well, let's see what you think. Katie says, "Good morning. Last Saturday, an approximately 60-year-old man walked past me at my local Tesco Express, saying he would see if he could get away with it, and he stole a newspaper. He then walked to his 4x4 and drove away.
It wasn't the Daily Mail.
I was too shocked to speak." I'm sure it was. It's the most read paper or something, isn't it?
Very good value for money.
It's obviously not only a young person's crime. That is a really good point, Katie. I was reading up on this morning, and there has been a significant increase in older people over 60, stealing from shops.
Because they're struggling to make ends meet.
Well, possibly. That's one theory and one part of it. But also there just has been this kind of breakdown in social norms since COVID. People don't feel ashamed of these things anymore. Like shouting at doctors' receptionists or physically abusing pharmacy staff. We were covering that last week, weren't we?
We were. And the level of abuse in A&Es has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
In hospitals.
Yeah, exactly. It's just people don't seem to be these kind of social checks anymore that people face. Someone else tells us, "As a police officer in Scotland, I can say it's not the police response that's the issue. With modern technology, it's much easier to identify and charge persistent offenders. It's the lack of action and the lacklustre speed of the court process and sentencing. Rarely does anyone get jail for it, so there's just no deterrent." Also a really, really good point. An actual police officer there speaking out.
Yeah.
Trevor says, "It's sad, but in our local Asda, they've put security tags on Lurpak butter." Yes, anything that's expensive now.
What would that be? £3?
Yeah,
£2.80?
250 grams of butter now is sometimes approaching £3.
Yeah.
It's gone up so much.
Blimey.
Not that that's an excuse to steal.
No, it's not.
Well, let's move on now. Ed Miliband will approve the first major North Sea oil and gas field in nearly a decade as pressure grows on ministers to boost UK energy production.
It's called the Jackdaw site. It's off the coast of Aberdeenshire. Ministers say it could be given a green light after they say it can fit within Britain's carbon reduction targets. With GBNews political correspondent Livy Rutley is here to join us now. This is coming just a week after one of, I thought, Prime Minister's most humiliating admissions at the dispatch box, when he said to Badenoch, Kimmy Badenoch, she didn't understand how it works. Only the Secretary of State for Energy could approve an oil field. He's the Prime Minister. Anyway, this now appears the Secretary of State for Energy is approving this oil field. He could have done it 146 days ago, thereby releasing lots of badly needed oil and gas and, more to the point, lots of badly needed revenue for the Exchequer.
Well, absolutely. And it's often said that new drilling in the North Sea won't make any difference immediately. But actually, it looks as though about 1 million homes could be powered by this gas by the winter. Amazing. If this is agreed imminently. And the company that's responsible for this say that in the future, the drilling in Jackdaw could provide 6% of the UK's entire gas needs. So it would be extraordinary. As you say, Ed Miliband has sort of come at this kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
Rachel Reeves put pressure on him yesterday, saying that she would like to see drilling in both Rosebank and Jackdaw. Ed Miliband has previously said that Rosebank, which is oil rather than gas, to drill there would be an act of environmental vandalism. So it sounds as though that one is still off the table for now. but it does look as though he's going to give the green light to Jackdaw. Now, there comes this question of whether it's breaking Labour's manifesto pledge, because in Labour's manifesto it said it wouldn't grant any new oil and gas licences, and that was actually a clear bit of blue water between Labour and the Conservatives. Now, Rachel Reeves has got a bit of an interesting workaround here. She's saying that actually this isn't a new licence for North Sea oil. This was a licence that was granted by the Conservatives in 2023, but then overturned by the courts in 2024. So it's not really a new site. It's one that's already been approved before.
She's dancing on a pinhead, isn't she?
She absolutely is dancing on a pinhead. But there is also, of course, pressure not just from Rachel Reeves from a Treasury perspective, but also from the unions who've been putting huge pressure on Ed Miliband. Because, of course, it would create so many jobs.
Yes.
The SNP, interestingly, has also changed their mind about this. It's, as you say, off the coast of Aberdeenshire. A few years ago, Nicola Sturgeon agreed with Caroline Lucas that it was an act of astonishing environmental vandalism. John Swinney's totally changed his mind and says that this should go ahead. So I think it looks as though Ed Miliband is going to have to go for this. It'll be fascinating to see whether Rosebank, that oil reserve, is going to be the next one on the list.
And this could have become an issue. We've got key elections in the Scottish Parliament coming up in May. This could easily become a battleground.
It definitely could. No decision is going to be made before those elections. And I think it definitely could become a battleground there. Anas Anwar, a Scottish Labour leader, has said that he would like to see drilling in the North Sea at this site as well. Let's see how it plays out. I would love to see a response from Ed Miliband on this, because I think he's trying to claim that this isn't a U-turn. He was never specifically against Jackdaw, but certainly his messaging has always been against drilling in the North Sea.
Fossil fuel. He doesn't want to. If it's in the ground, he doesn't want to drill it.
And Olivia, what about this argument that rages on between people actually on both sides of the environmental debate, which is that although drilling North Sea oil and gas would bring in revenue to the Treasury, it wouldn't actually change the price to households of a unit of energy, because it will just be sold on the international market?
Well, I mean, there is some truth in that, but you could also argue that if you bring in sort of millions of pounds of investment, that does bring money to the Treasury, which, of course, ends up being passed on to
lower taxes or
everyone
whatever.
Cutting debt even.
Have more money washing around the economy, and obviously people end up being better off. So there is an element of truth in that, but you could definitely see it both ways. And I think that pressure is on now to do whatever we can to be just less reliant on Iran, on rogue states, even if it's not in the most direct way, to get some revenue coming in. That seems to be the way the tide is moving over the past few years. But let's see. I don't think we've heard the end of it. The Greens, of course, will have their say very soon.
Of course, and I think they were probably rattled this week, weren't they, Olivia, when the IMF said, or maybe it was last week, that Britain will be the most affected by the chaos in the international market, because we import so much gas.
Exactly. The problem is, of course, that all of these delays have already affected us. This North Sea oil licence was granted by the Conservatives in 2023. It's now 2026 and nothing's been done about it, partly because of the decision from the courts. But all of these delays mean that we are so many steps behind already, which plays into what the IMF has been saying.
Absolutely.
Fascinating.
It really is.
Really interesting debate. Although it does sound like the right decision is about to be made, which
although
we
whether
should
it will be challenged in the courts again.
Yes, of course.
Because the Greens may take it to court.
The Greens might well take it to court, although I'm not sure they're that interested in the environment anymore.
No, they only talk about redistribution of income, and this will redistribute a lot.
They should welcome it. Thank you very much, Olivia, for that update. Well, moving on now. For the first time in 800 years, the Royal Maundy Thursday service was held in North Wales.
So the King and Queen led the ancient Easter tradition. It took place this time at St Asaph Cathedral. Just hours before the royal arrival, anti-monarchy graffiti was sprayed on the wall of the cathedral.
Well, our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, was there and sent this report.
A holy Christian service with a touch of royal shine. The King distributing Maundy money at St Asaph Cathedral, commemorating the Last Supper of Jesus Christ before his crucifixion on Good Friday. 77 men and 77 women, one for each year of Charles's life and chosen for their Christian charity, received 2 purses containing special Maundy coins. Royal Maundy is a tradition dating back over 800 years, but it is the first time that it has been held in North Wales, and locals are very excited.
I think it's a marvellous opportunity for the whole community and the whole country. Yeah, we are very pleased.
It's lovely, it's a beautiful city, it's a beautiful cathedral, and it gives us the opportunity to show the rest of the country just how lovely it is.
Oh, it's lovely. It makes you very proud that, you know, I know he was the Prince of Wales, but no, it's lovely to see him up here.
And their wish was granted. King Charles and Queen Camilla greeted as many locals as possible in the spring sunshine. A small minority assembled to protest, but denied responsibility for anti-royal graffiti sprayed on the cathedral wall. Bishop of St Asaph, Gregory Cameron, was disappointed by the vandalism.
I can understand not everyone will support this event. Some will want to register a protest. But it's always disappointing when people do things that spoil it for those that do enjoy the event. There was just a feeling of, oh, what a shame.
North Wales Police are investigating. Chief Inspector Caroline Mullen-Hurst told GB News, such behaviour has no place in our community, and we are committed to ensuring that those responsible are held to account. Easter celebrations continue Sunday for the royals, with their Majesties expected to be joined by the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children in Windsor. Andrew, Sarah Ferguson and their two daughters, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, will be absent as the fallout from the Epstein files continue. Cameron Walker, GB News, St Asaph in North Wales.
Well, it's time now for the Great British Giveaway. How would you like to win a brand new camper van in time for the summer holidays? Not only that, but you can bank £25,000 in tax-free cash. Here are all the details you need.
It's our Easter treat to you. Your chance to win over £92,000 worth of prizes. First, you could bank an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like this summer. And that's not all. You could be driving away in this brand new Benevan 122 camper van. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, has plenty of storage and comes complete with a built-in kitchen and bathroom. Imagine where you could take the family in this stunning home from home. You really could win this prize package worth over £92,000. But you've got to be in it to win it. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes are closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck!
Well, coming up next, Starmer's cost of living champion, Lord Walker, who's also the boss of Iceland, well, he's urged the Chancellor to scrap the fuel duty rise.
We'll be going through that and more of the fallout from the war in Iran with Dr. Renee and Jonathan Liss. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every week there are stories that shape the national conversation.
We'll be discussing that.
And on Saturday Morning Live, we break them down.
Is that true? This is fascinating, isn't it?
The politics, the headlines, the debates everyone's talking about.
And the questions that you want answered. Do you think that was a legitimate attack for him to make?
What led you to set up this fantastic movement?
You know what? It's a great question, Olivia.
So what are you waiting for?
Your weekend starts here. Saturdays at 10 a.m, only on GB News.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Let's do it. It is 24 minutes past 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Did you watch, by the way, the programme about Hugh Edwards?
By the way, we have got Jonathan Liss and Renee in the studio. For those of you who just...
They know who they are. Renee, did you see...
I didn't, because I have no interest in watching anything about this man. I am very exercised by how unseriously we take paedophilia in this country. 75% of paedophile cases that go to court walk free. They don't get a custodial service.
Well, including Hugh Edwards.
Including Hugh Edwards. Yesterday we saw a woman who stole 300 cream eggs go to prison for 41 weeks. You know, we've got our priorities wrong. If we can't protect our children, whether they're toddlers or teenagers, we have a problem. And Hugh Edwards is a disgusting man who shouldn't be seen in the light of day on TV or anywhere else. But you've just found a story.
Well, his agent, his publicist, Barry Tomes, says he's been inundated with photo shoots and interviews and offers for news shows of Hugh Edwards. Do you want to ever hear from this? He wants to put his side of the story. We know his side of the story. He exploited a vulnerable young man who paid money for it, didn't break the law, and then downloaded porn of children as young as 9.
Yeah,
what is there to...
Category A.
Category A, exactly.
No, it's obviously that's horrifying. Look, if you're asking me, do I think that Hugh Edwards should ever present a news programme again, the answer is no.
Should any TV company pay him to hear from him again? My view would be absolutely not, and I'm not a banner, but I can't see the market for this.
If there's a TV company that wants to interview him, I think a lot of people would be interested to hear it. A lot of people would vilify him. You know, in the same way that other people have, you know, sort of served time in prison or had convictions and then, you know, been publicly vilified and then, you know, sort of given a TV interview. I don't think they should be banned from the airways, sort of Jerry Adams style in the 90s.
Well, I think,
you know,
actually,
I do.
I think
what
was it Harold Wilson said about a period of silence from you would be advisable.
Fine, but, you know, in a free country, in a free media environment, if someone wants to interview him, then that's their right and that's
what
his
about
right.
his victims?
Andrew, I don't know what you're asking me. I'm not defending Hugh Edwards in any way. You're asking me a very specific question about...
if he then gets paid to go on TV and say, I misunderstood.
But that's the risk of the company that employs them, isn't it?
Yeah,
and if they find that people boycott them...
It might backfire on them, but I also, you know, people... If people want to watch it, they can. If they don't want to watch it, they don't have to.
Hugh Edwards, along with every other paedophile, whether they've just looked at photos of category, and that's what people say, oh, it was just a photo. If there wasn't a market for those photos, there wouldn't be children being exploited to make them. That's what we must remember.
Well, 1,000 men a month now are arrested for possession of child sexual abuse material. There's been an enormous rise. That's up from 850 months last year. That's just 1 year of rise. It's a massive
Renee
problem.
making the point, very few of them get convicted.
25% of them go to prison, the rest of them just walk. It's disgusting. We need to actually show these paedophiles what we think of them.
And 95%, I think I'm right, are men.
Yes.
The paedophiles, 95%.
Well, it also raises the question of why aren't we doing more to stop this material from getting into people's... getting onto the internet in the first place. I think you need to tackle both sides of the criminal network.
I can't tell you how many times I've covered summits with government ministers saying, yeah, we're going to put a stop to it, we're going to have filters on porn, filters... Doesn't happen, Miriam.
No.
Does it?
No, because I'm afraid some people make the argument that this stuff is free speech.
Yes, but also...
And also these big tech companies are very rich and powerful.
So when you look at something like the Online Safety Act, which has had the effect of curtailing... de facto curtailing a lot of legal material.
Yeah.
And like it or not, a lot of people, a lot of adults are going to want to watch porn of adults. And when you have paedophiles who are seeking out that material, they're not going on the mainstream sites. Obviously, they're going on the dark web, they're using VPNs, etc.
I mean, that's not true.
So
Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff is to be found on mainstream porn websites, sadly. It is illegal, it's just nobody does anything about it.
Which is shocking.
Of course, it's shocking. Look, I think that there are...
How is this internet good for us?
Sorry, what?
How has this internet been good for us when you think about the damage it's done to so many children?
Well, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think the internet has been one of the absolute sort of wonders of modern technology.
Yeah, but there are times, Johnson, I wonder, I think, has it been... It's not all been good, has it?
No, of course it hasn't all been good, but you couldn't imagine your life without the internet.
The suicides, the depression.
I can imagine my life without. I went to medical school where we had to go to the library and get books out. I can absolutely imagine life without the internet.
It would make life very, very difficult.
The thing, though, the internet is a form of industrial revolution like we've had many of in human history. They always bring massive benefits in terms of economics and communication, those kind of ideas. But they also bring severe harms, often to children in the first place. And it takes society a couple of generations to work through how you regulate and minimise those harms. So look at the motor car. What an incredible feat of human engineering, giving us independence, freedom. But it killed a lot of people for a long time until we got a grip of road regulation. Look at factories. They killed a lot of children for a long time until we got... We just haven't worked out how to regulate the internet well enough to allow it to have its positive effects, but to protect the most vulnerable. We've just not cracked it yet.
I do agree. However, we are in this age now of agentic where AI is accelerating itself so quickly that within the next 5 to 10 years there are going to be almost no jobs. And there really are going to be almost no jobs.
And we haven't prepared for that at all, by the way.
And we haven't prepared for that
And I think that's a really important sort of policy area because, you know, I talk to a lot of people who are not on the left by any means, who are now talking about a universal basic income, for example, because they say that, you know, in all kinds of industries there just aren't going to be jobs. So how are we going to get people, how are people going to, you know, sort of earn a living?
The Tony Blair Institute, in the name of Tony Blair, talks about very little else. They say we've got to harness it and use it before it uses us and takes over us.
And before it takes over things like regulating the internet, because it's going to do this unless it's checked.
Well, there was an interesting academic study into ChatGPT the other day, and it looked at how ChatGPT trains itself on its previous answers.
And writes books about innovation.
ChatGPT is like the mini miner of AI.
Yeah, but I'm just using this as an example, that the further away you get from the original human source of human input, the more untruthful, distorted it becomes. And so, like you say, we've not seen anything
I think there's another... I think it's super interesting when you talk to friends about how they use AI, and you talk about ChatGPT in particular. I've got friends who basically use it as a personal assistant, as a kind of boyfriend or girlfriend, actually. Yeah, so I've got one friend who doesn't make any decisions. He doesn't make any decisions about sort of either big decisions or small decisions without consulting ChatGPT first.
A lot of young people.
A lot of young people now, a lot of people who are lonely are using it as their best friend, seeking validation. And obviously the thing with ChatGPT is that it tells you the answer that you want to know. So a really good example of this is when you ask, for example, I was in Gran Canaria with some friends and we noticed there weren't many birds. They said, why aren't there that many birds in Gran Canaria? And it gave a very, very clear answer about why that might be. And as I said, just as an example, as a test, say, why are there so many birds in Gran Canaria? Say, well, that's a good spot. And then it gives you that answer as well. So it it gives you sort of very legitimate-looking answers to back up the question that you are asking. It never says you're wrong.
No,
That's what the question is wrong.
Well, that's actually not true, because ChatGPT has told me several times that it cannot do what I'm asking it because...
Is it about trans?
It was about trans. Because it couldn't be nasty to a group of people. So it has some limits. It does say no, it has limits. I agree.
And why is it being nasty to ask an objective question about a group of people? What's nasty about that?
Because it's training itself on the material that's already on the internet.
Right.
And so if that leans one way. But we're seeing also increasing number of teenagers, children, who have taken their own lives after instructions from ChatGPT. And, you know, obviously they can find anything they want to do. So it is extremely concerning. Anyway, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you both.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. On that positive note.
Go to church, everyone. Go to church.
Are you going to Mass this afternoon?
This afternoon I'm not, but I went last night to Maundy Thursday and I went to a Palm Sunday service in Malaga.
Or as Rob Janet would say, it's Psalm Sunday.
And are you going somewhere lovely this afternoon?
Sing song.
I'm going to see the magic faraway tree this afternoon.
Very religious.
That sounds very nice.
We've got lots more on Britain's Newsroom, but first of all, your 60-second news update with Aaron Armstrong.
Hello there, good morning to you. 11:33 the time. Our headlines. Marks and Spencer's called on the government to crack down on retail crime, warning that theft and attacks on staff are becoming more brazen and more aggressive. It comes after a string of incidents involving shoplifting and violence at its stores. President Trump has threatened to strike Iran's bridges and electric power plants, saying the US hasn't even started destroying what is left. It comes after a US strike on a bridge near Tehran. Iran has responded by striking an oil refinery and a water desalination plant in Kuwait. Ed Miliband is expected to authorise the first major North Sea oil and gas field project in almost a decade. The Energy Secretary is to give the green light for the Jackdaw site off the coast of Aberdeen, after concluding it is compatible with the UK's carbon reduction targets. The astronauts on board NASA's Artemis 2 mission have left the Earth's orbit. They are making a final push towards the moon. Commander Reed Wiseman described a spectacular view of Earth from pole to pole in a live stream from space. And millions of people still expected to be on the roads over the coming weekend for the Easter holidays, despite the arrival of Storm Dave. Travellers being warned of disruptions to road, rail, air and ferries. And those are your headlines. I'll have more for you at 12.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, coming up at noon, we've got Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Dawn. They are here in the studio now. Dawn, you're looking extremely bright.
I did tell you I'd come as a Easter chick. Oh, but it's not just us today. We have got some little friends with us. We do.
There's
one for you. And there's one for me.
That was a squirrel, but I'm guessing it's a bunny.
Yeah.
Why
cute?
Don't do that. Do not do that.
Is this supposed to sort of...
They can go...
Your bunny is sort of leaning back in a very relaxed way.
Did we not do
My bunny is...
Friday?
This is...
They're Easter bunnies. They can go however you want.
OK.
And Tom has also been given a hot cross bun.
Yeah, I haven't had a hot cross bun.
No, you wouldn't eat it.
It's favouritism.
Because you wouldn't eat it.
I would.
You wouldn't.
I would if it was coming from you.
It's only in recompense for the thousands of biscuits I've given you, Andrew Pearce, over the years.
Are we actually doing a show as well at some point?
We're doing a show as well.
Are you talking about the spaceship at any point?
I might be talking a little bit about the spaceship.
I actually managed to ask Tom a question he could not answer about space.
Impressive.
I refute this.
No.
You asked me quite a puerile question of could you smell a fart in a spacesuit?
In a spacesuit.
To which I responded, what kind of spacesuit? Because there are lots of different kinds of spacesuits. There's your hermetically sealed EVA suit. There's the suit that you might wear inside a sealed capsule. So there's lots of different
Would you be more
answers.
concerned if you could smell it outside the spaceship suit?
Well, you wouldn't really.
Yes, you would, because if it's leaking, you're in.
You kind of overthought this a bit.
If you could smell it outside the spacesuit, you're probably fine, because the very fact that you could smell it means you're not in a vacuum. So that means that you're not in space and you'd be somewhere where it would be completely OK to breathe.
And we are talking about some other stuff as well, but I've just promptly forgotten what it is, to be honest with you. No, we're also talking, more space coming up. Also, the ridiculous situation in London with crime at the moment and shoplifting. I know you've been talking about it as well.
Speaking out about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, and the mayor saying, no, there's no problem at all. It's like, right,
they've only arrested 6 people. 6.
Well, I was thinking about this earlier on, right? When I used to go to football away games and you were sort of like steaming towards a football ground, the police dealt with you really, really fast. They kettled you, they hauled you into meat wagons and they pulled you off to Nick. Why aren't they doing that now?
I quite agree.
What's the difference between football fans and the kids doing this in South London?
I think this is the thing, that it's sort of become gamified amongst so many of these young people who sort of team up. They think there's zero consequences. They need to be shown to be consequences.
Oh, and the clangers. We're talking about the clangers.
Right,
to a certain age.
Show, looking forward to that.
Now, all of that and more, but up next, big treat, Stanley Johnson. He's Boris's dad. He's joined us in the studio to discuss his remarkable journey recreating the steps of a very famous explorer with his son, Max. And we'll tell you how we got to get onto this story.
We will.
Because we bumped into him on a tube.
We did. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After quite a drizzly start, any rain and drizzle eventually starting to clear central areas, though it may linger in the south. Often breezy, but feeling quite warm in the sunshine. That's away from the north, where it still will feel fairly cold, and where we'll see the bulk of the wind and rain will be across western areas, just as we start to see some frontal systems edge in. So some quite persistent rain across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and northern parts of England. This could be a little heavy at times, but across many areas of England and Wales this afternoon, it should brighten up, some sunny spells, though it is often going to be breezy, and it's likely we'll see a fair few showers across Scotland, these falling as snow across high ground. A bit chillier across the north, but for many areas of England and Wales, highs reaching around 16 degrees Celsius, so feeling warm where we do see any sunshine. Now, as we progress into this evening, there will still be some showers lingering on, particularly across Scotland, where they'll still fall as snow across high ground. Still some showers moving into parts of Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and some showers elsewhere across further south, but any showers largely easing away through the course of the evening. Still quite cloudy and drizzly across the south, but even this later on starting to clear. So with lots of clear skies around, temperatures will soon dip away. We may even touch around freezing across Scotland, where there could be a patchy frost, and still some snow showers continuing here. Winds will lighten off for a time, but we'll start to see a bit of a breeze pick up later on into the night, a bit more clouds starting to push through, and the return of some drizzle across the far southwest. So chillier under clear skies, but a little bit milder under the cloud in the far southwest of England and also parts of Wales. And it's through Saturday we'll start to see gradually it turning more and more unsettled, some rain and some strong winds pushing into Northern Ireland, eventually pushing into Scotland, where it will likely fall as snow. Winds really picking up later into the day. It's likely we could even see some severe gales across the north, but across much of England and Wales, although windy, feeling warm once again in the sunshine.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 19 minutes to 12. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Now, the journey Miriam and I made was not in the same league as Stanley Johnson, but we happened to bump into him on the tube the other day. He was clutching a rather impressive book, In the Footsteps of Marco Polo. He happened to tell us about his new book, which has been updated. Here it is.
This is the new version.
And all this conversation was conducted in the tube station to the utter joy.
On the train?
Tube train. The whole station was hanging on our every word.
Yes.
And Stanley's here now to talk about the...
Well, at least it proves we still take the tube.
Absolutely.
But
Big fans.
This journey was done by you. What age were you when you did the journey?
OK, when I started off, I was actually 20 years old. Well, I was 20 because I had my 21st birthday sitting in the desert in Iran, Persia, as we called it then, outside Isfahan, looking at this wonderful, wonderful mosque, which I'm desperately hoping that the Americans don't bomb. They've been bombing Isfahan like mad in the last few days. And I say to myself, please save the mosque at the very, very least. Well, I had my 21st birthday there. I was with Tim Severin, that brilliant man who's unfortunately died, who became an explorer, professional explorer. I'm just a kind of amateur explorer. We got as far as the China-Afghan border. And then we ran out of steam. It was the Oxford long vacation. You only have 4 months holiday.
Only.
You know, we said we're going to go to Beijing on motorcycles. We got the motorcycles. We headed off. We didn't have the Chinese visa. We got all the way to the border, ran out of time, ran out of money. Our motorcycles we only had one motorcycle. Then BSA brilliantly, and by the way, this book is going to be launched on May the 1st in a pub in Hertfordshire called the Old Palace, King's Langley, and BSA or BSA distributors are going to bring motorcycles for that great event.
Amazing.
And so what happened then? Years intervened. I went back to China several times. I was one of the first EU delegations to go to China in 1975. But I never really finished off this journey. And then come the year 2000, I meet the Chinese ambassador here in London, and he says, we're going to help you finish it off. I meet a wonderful man called Rana, who has an organisation called GEDU, or English Path, and he says, we're going to help you. So this time, we don't have Tim Severin, because he's dead. We don't have our photographer, Michael Larabidi. He unfortunately dead too. But we have my son, Max.
Right.
My son, Max, my fourth of my several sons. Max speaks Chinese perfectly, I should say Mandarin perfectly, speaks Russian perfectly, strong, fit. And he came with me, and the whole of the rest of the journey, which is that half, the other half, let me pull that book up again. The half of this is the first part of the journey, and half of it is the whole Chinese part, which was just superb. We start in the Himalayas. We go. I ride a yak. In a bushkashi race.
It's on screen now, I think, Stanley.
You've got it.
We've got the footage of you riding a yak. That's a first for GB News.
Oh, I'm so glad you got that. How extraordinary. Well, there we go. It was full of adventure, this whole thing. We went from Xinjiang, we went through the Gobi Desert, we went through the Taklamakan Desert. We went to that amazing place called Dunhuang, where you have the Buddhist caves, that great sweep of Buddhism from India into China.
And where were you sleeping at night?
Well, I've got to say, it wasn't anything like as uncomfortable on our first journey.
You'd upgraded since
we
student
slept
days.
beside our motorcycles. I tell you, we slept beside the motorcycles, or we slept on what's called charpoys, if you're in that part of the world. But I think it means 4 legs. It's beds which have 4 legs, charpoys, which would be on the roof of the houses in Afghanistan. This time round, I've got to say, our Chinese hosts did us proud. And apart from that very first night, when we were high up in the Himalayas, the Chinese premiers, and you're over 5,000 meters, which is high-ish. I've actually climbed Mount Kilimanjaro twice in recent years, and that's actually somewhat higher. But nonetheless, it's high and it was cold. Those first nights were cold, but after that, I've got to say, we had decent accommodation. I won't say it was adventure. It was fantastically adventurous. We went across the Gobi Desert, as I say. We went across the Great Mongolia Plain, and it was just superb.
Just quickly, how many weeks were you travelling?
How many weeks we were travelling? The first time, as I said, we travelled the full 4 months.
Yeah.
Even then, we were late for term coming back. The second time, I guess we were travelling for 8 weeks.
You are incredible. And what age were you?
Amazing.
What age were you when you did it?
Well, the first time, as I said, I was about 20. Second time, where am I now? Well, actually, yes, I'm going to be 85. No, I am 85. Yes, 85. I'm going to be 86 quite soon.
Amazing.
But lots more in
Sounds
very good.
Well, there's the book. We'll
In the footsteps of Marco Polo.
This one. This is what he wants.
You've got 2 versions. You've got a deluxe version.
Exploring the old world in modern times with Stanley Johnson and his son.
Max.
My son Max, and all I can say is strange thing happens on the tube.
Yes, exactly.
That's true. Stanley, thank you so much for coming in. Well, up next, we're off to Selby in North Yorkshire, where Christians are celebrating Good Friday.
We're here at Porthome Church in Selby, where the walk of worship is about to begin for Good Friday. It's feeling cold here and I've got my hat on, but what's the European weather like?
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After a stormy few days, things are calming down in Italy with some sunny skies returning here for the Easter weekend. Meanwhile, the wet and windy weather continues to affect parts of Greece and Turkey. There's the sunnier skies in Italy, the winds easing slowly across the south. Also, generally fine conditions for the Balearics, most of Spain and Portugal also seeing some sunshine. Sunny spells for the Canaries. We'll see things warming up a little bit in Rome with more sunshine to come through Sunday, Monday and into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain,
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Christians across Britain are marking Good Friday with thousands gathering for open-air performances, marches and services in a powerful display of faith.
In Selby, the Walk of Witness March brings together all Christian denominations who are active in the area.
Well, joining us now from Selby is GB News Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley. Anna, good morning. What have you got to bring us from Selby?
Good morning. Well, you can see the cross here in front of us. The walk of worship is well underway now. We're in the Market Cross area of Selby, and it's denominations, all Christian denominations and churches joining together for the walk of witness. I'm joined by Emma and Kevin Riley. Emma, what does Easter and Good Friday mean to you?
Oh, it's the most amazing good news. We all know that we mess up, and even the good things we do actually don't sort out a relationship with God. But the message of Easter is that Jesus left heaven, came to earth, lived a sinless life, and then died on a cross that God punished him for all my sin. So all my guilt, all my shame has been dealt with by Jesus, and I can have the most amazing relationship with God. It's the most wonderful good news.
And Kevin, what does it mean to you to come out as a Christian publicly and, you know, show your love for God and support the Easter message?
Well, honestly, I weren't raised in a church background, so I didn't know much about Easter and Lent. But being public as a Christian, that's an everyday thing for me. 30 years ago, Jesus totally changed my life. Come out of the army, was a lost guy really, and my brother told me the message of Jesus, that he could die for me, that he died for me and changed my life.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Kevin and Emma there giving their views this Good Friday on the Walk of Worship here in Selby.
Well, that's it from Britain's Newsroom. We'll be back, well, on Tuesday, won't we?
Yeah, so have a very lovely, happy Easter. Up next now, Tom and Dawn on Good Afternoon Britain. We'll see you next week.
Is a Damascene conversion on the horizon for Ed Miliband? Well, a new gas field could be approved. Is this the start of a vibe shift, or is it a last gasp of a dying industry?
I think he means, is it another U-turn? Also, lawless Britain. Why aren't we treating those kids running riot in South London like we treat football fans?
Big questions and big answers, hopefully, to come over the next 3 hours. Do stay with us.
And some rabbits. And some rabbits. We've got some rabbits.
Oh, yeah, some rabbits too. Happy Easter. See you in a second.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning. Plenty going on with the weather this Easter weekend. Many of us seeing some rain this morning. Then Storm Dave arrives in the north tomorrow. Things looking a bit calmer and a bit brighter for many of us on Sunday and Bank Holiday Monday. But we start off with a lot of cloud and outbreaks of rain in many places today. Could well see some heavier rain for a good part of the morning over North Wales, northwest England, spreading into northeast England. Further south should dry up a little bit. A lot of cloud here, but something a bit brighter this afternoon. And we'll see a mixture of sunshine and showers for Scotland and Northern Ireland, those showers of snow over the hills. But further south, really quite mild actually, 15, maybe 16 degrees. But it is quite breezy, quite blustery conditions, particularly this morning over northern England. There's that heavy rain slowly sinking south through this evening. More showers packing into western Scotland, snow over the hills, some hail and the odd rumble of thunder possible in the showers almost anywhere through the day today. Showers may ease a little bit across Northern Ireland. We'll end the day here with some fine weather, but still quite gusty and blustery. Same goes for much of northern England. That zone of wetter weather sinking south across the Midlands towards South Wales, but kind of fizzling out as it does so, and it should clear away during Friday night. That'll leave something a bit clearer for pretty much all parts of the UK, but also a little bit colder, so temperatures dropping quite sharply as we head into Saturday morning. But we should start off with some sunny spells. The breeze will start to pick up in the west, however, and this is the first sign of Storm Dave. Ahead of that, as I said, we will see those temperatures falling away with a frost likely across rural parts of northern England and much of Scotland. But generally a bright start to Saturday. We'll see some sunny spells tomorrow morning, but clouding over in the west. Outbreaks of patchy rain for Wales, northern England, but the rain getting heavier for Northern Ireland, then spreading into central and southern Scotland with more snow to come. Initially over the tops of the mountains, but that'll come down to lower levels later on. But it's the winds from Storm Dave